Mein Montag, mein Hapon, mein Gabi, no matter where you are in the world. Give me just a second. Let me send out a couple of invites. That I try to send out invites to these to different people. If you would like one sent to you in the future, don't hesitate to let me know. Normally, I try to do this stuff behind the scenes before. But I don't always manage to get that done. So if you don't get one, my apologies, and let me know, and I will include you on that that rotation. There we go. And I'm done. Here I am. How is everybody this morning? Good morning, Mr. David Brown. How you doing today? That kind of figured give a little bit of a recap on yesterday's Zoom meeting. That Philippine experience showed up. Let me get one more out there that I completely forgot. There's a couple people that are either on the page, but not our personal accounts. There's a couple people on our personal accounts, but not our page. So I try to make sure that everybody gets notified, but yeah, it doesn't always happen. And there we go. I think I got everybody at this point. I hope so. If I didn't, my apologies to everyone. I take it government paperwork didn't go quite according to plan, Mr. Brown. That yeah, that's not always the most enjoyable experience getting all that stuff done. Miss baby girl, if you're downstairs, could you bring me up my water? I completely forgot, and I just went to reach for it and realized it wasn't there. So yesterday's Zoom meeting actually kind of did go well. That John from Philippine Experience showed up, and we had a really good chat for 40 minutes. I understand that Canada had a really large brownout, so Mr. Ford was not able to join. And then I sent out messages, or I shared the event link, and for whatever reason, it didn't go anywhere. I shared it with a bunch of people, and it just didn't go anywhere. So I don't get what happened on that one. But yeah, things like that happen. And running forward, I know better than to share it that way. I will share it in a more traditional way of just getting it done, just copying the link and sending it in Messenger to everybody. The one that I did do that way did go, but then I saw that there was a way to share the link other way, and that one didn't go. So I didn't. My bad for not double checking this stuff in advance. That's something Cindy and I talked about, and I'll probably ask this one a couple more times throughout this meeting. That of having a wives Zoom meeting, that just have the wives get together and do a Zoom meeting. That's one comment Cindy makes about the Zoom meeting is, hey, it's mainly the husbands, and then the guys get together and talk about husband and guy things. That so, if you don't mind me asking, what'd you get that disappeared so quickly? Oh, but I guess Philippine experience isn't feeling terribly well tonight, so I can understand that. But I don't know. I'd like to continue building community in as many ways as possible here, and that I thought might be a good way to try and build community with amongst the wives. That could be kind of cool. Huh. I'm gonna have to, like I said, I guess I'm gonna have to figure out a different way to do that. I may ask one of you guys if you mind, maybe trying to share next month's a couple weeks in advance with you and see how it goes and double check that it is getting shared out there. I am still, we've had that business page for the Facebook page for a while, and I'm still getting familiar with it. Hey, Parabiology, how are you doing today? Yeah, I missed my secretary today, so I'm kind of lost on a lot of stuff. Yeah, just matter of fact, I kind of need to message my secretary here. Give me a second. That I got some water out of the fridge to bring upstairs. I got sidetracked, did something else, and completely forgot to bring my water. Yeah, I'm just now getting the message that the computer sent me. Everybody here's doing pretty well. They're getting a little bored. I'll be honest with you on that one. Getting a little bored. That I'm probably going to head out for a little bit today. That I've got some Lazada and some Amazon orders to do today. Trying to make a video of them. That I opened my Streamlabs on the computer, and it asked to make changes to the computer, and I trust Streamlabs, so I said okay. And when it opened, all of my settings were gone. I had no idea what happened to them or where they went. So I'm gonna have to go back and completely reset that one up, which is why I'm not doing it through Streamlabs through Streamlabs today. I was hoping to set that up and do it through Streamlabs for a couple of reasons. And one of those reasons being that I had it pretty well set up to where I could do a guest appearance and have somebody. It's going to be a split screen, and that we could have an interactive chat that way with everybody here, and that way we could at least do two people do like a weekly guest appearance with somebody, and thought that might be kind of fun to try and do. And so I was gonna, without actually doing the guest appearance, I was gonna double check that, make sure all the settings were correct for broadcasting through Streamlabs. But yeah, I guess I need to figure out a way to make a backup copy. For a couple of reasons, I've been thinking about subscribing to it, and I need to ask the company a couple questions today, whether or not the mobile app subscription and the computer app subscription would link together as one subscription. If that's the case, I will definitely subscribe for the year. If it's not the case, I may subscribe for 1 month on the computer, see what it looks like, and debate about whether or not I want to do one for the phone. Biggest reason to do one for the phone is they've got a couple of themes, overlays, whatever you want to call it, that you can change colors. And one of them is that they call a bumblebee. That it's a black, the live chat comes up with a black background bar and yellow lettering, and I'm thinking that would help me a lot out in sunlight, to be able to see everything, to be able to see the comments a little bit easier. And so I am probably going to subscribe just for that on the phone. There's a few apps on the computer version that I would like to get included and start doing these live streams more from the Streamlabs than straight through the YouTube studio. That there would definitely be some really good advantages to doing it that way. One of the cool things that may or may not work well is like on the sidebar right here. I could have the sidebar right here. I could have a chat over in that area. I could be doing different screens over in that area whenever Cindy isn't with me. And there's a lot of times that there's different articles or different Facebook stuff that I'd kind of like to share with you guys that you just can't do from here, or I wind up just showing it to the camera as best I can. Whereas that way I can actually bring up another screenshot so that it appears over here, or even just a complete overlay to where you see the entire screen that way. I had to go out yesterday, and I went down to the 168 mall, not the 138 mall, but the 168 mall. Yeah, they do that a lot here in the Philippines. If it works well, they tend to copy things. And I picked I wanted to get some kind of screen or screed or something. That I've shown you guys the garden that I'm trying to do out front. And there's a lot of rock and stuff in there. So I was hoping to find some kind of screen or screed or something like that, that I could start basically using that to pull out some of the rock. I kind of found something there, but we'll see. I'm going to play with it here in the next couple of days. It's just a basket that has about a half-inch hole in the bottom of it, so the soil and even the clumps should come out, but not the larger rock. I was hoping to find something a little bit finer than that, but yeah, I got what I got. That I don't know. Is it going to work? I hope so, but I wouldn't swear. But anyways, going down there, and granted, it's not terribly far from where we live. It's probably right at a mile, just under. But there was no heavy police presence or anything like that. What little PMP I'd seen, the last couple times that we've been out, just walking walking beat and stuff like that, it has pretty much died down. I haven't seen much. So probably tomorrow I'm going to do a walking live stream. I'm probably going to try not going towards Capitol site area, but heading off the other area. Mrs. Cindy Bruntwater, I am truly appreciative. And so I'm probably going to go back to trying to do the live stream and just see how that goes. Not entirely sure where I'm going to go yet. I may park at One Pavilion again and go over to V-Rama and walk south on V-Rama for a little bit just to see what's going on. That's not putting me too terribly close to Fuentes or any of the areas that would normally be heavily patrolled. It's taking me a little further away from the Barangay precinct office. So probably going to head that area. And I'm pretty sure we haven't done a walk down in that area. So it'll be a new area I haven't walked that area, but I've driven it a bunch. So it'll be a new area for everybody. Mama Papa Manila, that they're starting to feel a lot better. They're probably going to start looking into getting tickets back here in the next week or so. Unfortunately, they're not going to make it back for Cindy's birthday, which is actually coming up. Not this coming weekend. Well, I don't know if I like that. Yeah, next Friday. No, not this coming Friday, but next Friday. Is Cindy's birthday. We're probably going to go out to Acacia Steakhouse again. So now, David, in the first lockdown we had, the 15th, there was no police presence. There was minimal presence on public utility, public jeepneys, buses, that type of stuff. But people got silly and didn't, after they realized that there was no police presence or anything like that, it wasn't being enforced. The people kind of got silly, and so they reinstituted round 2 and started out a lot more strict, but it kind of mellowed a little bit. There's still an alcohol ban that you can't drink in public, but yeah, I don't know. It is what it is, but they do seem to be relaxing a little bit. I haven't personally ran across any checkpoints yet. That doesn't mean that they're not out there, and obviously they are, because Governor Gwen went down and looked. And I think they're on the main national road. But I had another guy that I talked with that is a diver, and he said no, that there weren't. So I don't know. We're just going to have to kind of figure that one out as we go along, I guess. And tomorrow will be a little bit of a chance for me to just kind of check out what's down there, what's in the area, and what's going on. So I still haven't made it down to Wilcon Depot. I've been kind of hedgy about it because you're actually crossing town lines, city lines. The Wilcon's actually in Talisai, not in Cebu City, and literally in front of Wilcon that there is frequently a checkpoint checking, not for COVID, but just checking from predominantly motorcycle and scooters, registration, insurance, and all that fun stuff. Knowing that they frequently got a checkpoint there, I'm kind of hedgy on whether or not I want to get there. And we've lived without the repair this long. I'm thinking about just living without it for a little bit longer. And there's also a Cebu Builders Depot or something like that that's a little bit closer. It is still in Cebu City. And so I may just run down there and grab the piece that I need. So it's a lot smaller of a store that it's not quite the selection or anything like that, but it's also a lot closer. And I kind of like the selection a little bit better than what's at City Hardware, which is also fairly close. I've actually been down to the Cebu Builders Depot a couple times on Rusi. So like I said, I may just swing down there. That it's close enough that I don't mind. And I don't think I've ever seen any kind of checkpoints or police presence or anything like that whatsoever along that road. So, like I said, I may just check it out, see what's going on that way. I'm trying to find a more open area that I can get to without too much of a problem. I've got an idea of one up in Busai, I think. Wherever Sorrel Gardens is, there was a really neat open area when it's up in the mountains, but there is a couple of construction zones, and there is a checkpoint there that is still set up. And the last time I was through there, before all of this nonsense, there was actually a police presence there. They were just waving everybody through, but there was a police presence there. So I'm a little bit hesitant about going up there even. But I'd like to find a decent open area to get some drone practice in. And I'd like to start getting some drone practice once a week, or possibly twice a week, once with each drone. And just start getting a lot more familiar and comfortable with this stuff. I've gotten a bunch of, I had a bit of a bad case of gear acquisition syndrome. That I got a bunch of stuff that I've got basic understanding on how to use, but actually very little practice in using it. And so that's kind of what I need to start doing. Is even if they're crappy videos that never get posted anywhere, go out and start getting some videos, getting some practice editing it, and getting it hopefully posted. Hey, Mr. Daniel, how you doing? In parabiology, that's something I have done a couple times in the past. But one time in particular, it scared the dog snot out of me. We were in Sabunga, and I started to use a drone and do some shots by the church. And through lack of practice, lack of skill, I wasn't smart enough to take a look at treetops. And the wind was horrible up in the treetops, but not down below. And I almost lost the drone because of it. And it scared the dog snot out of me on that one. I fought to get it back. And it emphasized I need a lot more skill. And the last couple times I've taken it out, that there wasn't any kind of major panic, but the lack of skill definitely showed. And so I need to get it get up and get some practice. Now, Daniel, you got a Mavic Air? Do you have a license for it? I know in Canada they went stupid here a while back about licensing and fines and all this good stuff. That one of the Mavic series, the smallest of the series, they intentionally engineered tiny, and so it was just under the requirement, the required size. Be careful. One of the big YouTubers, I want to say Peter McKinnon, one of the guys out of Canada, the video, one of the video photography people that I like to watch. He got a fine for it, and he just stopped. And anytime he wants to do drone work, he just hires somebody. Matty Hapuya actually went through getting the license and doing all the stuff to get legal. They've got the Mavic Pro, they've got the Mavic Air, and then I think they've got a Mavic something or other, the Mavic Mini, I think, that is just under the weight limits and everything else, so it's not regulated. That I've got a Pro and Air version 1s. Yeah, Mavic Mini Mavic. That because they did a Mavic Mini before the arms were solid and it didn't work well. This one, I guess the arms tuck or fold somehow, so it does get a little bit smaller. And that was one of the biggest fallacies in it. In Arizona, we had an airport shut down for a little bit because of one. They weren't terribly bright. Up by Prescott, they were doing some fire suppression, and somebody started flying a drone through that zone, and it wound up grounding all the aircraft and shutting the airport down, the airfield that they were using. I guess it wasn't an actual airport; it was an airfield that they were using. And I guess the weight requirement is pretty much universal internationally. And yeah, I could see Mavic doing just exactly that. Now, I've heard some, not negative, but definitely less than positive stuff about the Mavic Air versus the Mavic. Strike that. I've heard some negative things about the Mavic Mini, or less than positive things about the Mavic Mini versus the Mavic Air. But they're the two that kind of seem to be in closest competition as far as portability, lack of licensing, and all that good crap. And the Mavic Pro is more a Phantom competition. And I don't regret getting the Mavic Pro because it was the only thing out at that point. In hindsight, I'm kind of thinking the Mavic Air might have been a little bit better for what I was looking for, which is why I could get it. But it's just a matter of I need to get practice with it. And this is my bad entirely for not doing a lot more of this back in the States before we came. And that's just it. You get what people always ask. Well, not so much me. I'm not one that's getting that question terribly often, but occasionally. What's the best gear for me? What's the best gear for me? And sometimes you'll get the people that give you these all-knowing answers and such. And more often than not, the more the person does know, the more they'll just say that, I don't know, it just depends on what you want to, what are you trying to do? What do you want to do? Not every piece of gear, there isn't a single piece of gear that's universally correct for every situation. If all you're doing is making simple vlogs, you don't need a $10,000 red camera. A lot of times just a little bit of skill and understanding, cell phone will do just as good as a lot of the other cameras out there anymore. And there are people out there that use entirely their cell phone to do vlogs. One of the guys that I watched frequently for channel video ideas and to try and get a little bit of understanding and do these a lot better. His biggest comment about using primarily a phone and out in public, nobody thinks twice about it. And so that's not a bad thing. And there's been times that I've had a phone out doing video looking like I was talking to the phone for that exact reason. There's been more than once that Cindy, because she's so pregnant, that we can't, that she just flat out can't go into these stores anymore, especially under this lockdown. And so I'll log in and do a Facebook video chat with her, showing her what I'm looking at and stuff like that. And she basically goes shopping with me. So yeah, there's a lot of people that do use cell phone exclusively for their video content. There's a fair amount of even bigger name YouTubers that if they don't use it exclusively, they do incorporate a lot of cell phone footage into their videos. A friend of mine showed me a camera that I was thinking about getting an Olympus Tough Series, Tough 6 or something like that, that he uses for fairly shallow scuba diving. But he does have a case for it if he does go to a little bit deeper than where the camera is rated for without protection. And he loves it because it doesn't need a housing for snorkeling and shallow scuba dive. I think it's 60 feet is where it's either 40 or 60 feet is where it's rated to, which is a little bit lower, a little bit deeper than the GoPro even. And he can take pictures on the boat, jump in, and not have to worry about casing or anything else. And for him, that camera's great. That he's not doing videography underwater. He's just taking some videos of where he's been. So, for him, that's the perfect camera. I looked into it because we don't have a decent weather camera that's a decent camera that's weatherproof. And so we thought that might be something good to use. It's about $400, about the same price as a GoPro. And it would work a lot better for photography than the GoPro does. And Cindy loves taking photos, loves taking pictures way more than video. So, that may have worked out great for her. We decided against it for a couple of reasons. The photo quality is good, but it's not spectacular, which is basically a phone. Our phones are generally weatherproof. So, and I can set up our phones to take raw images to where we can edit them a lot better after the fact. So we didn't see enough benefit at this point to choose it over our phones. And that's just it. And looking at a lot of these, you can actually get underwater housings now uh, that are scuba certified, 100 plus feet certified for most of the common cell phones, especially the iPhones. And again, the housings aren't terribly cheap. They're between $60 and $200, depending on what housing you're getting. But I'm certain that would work for a lot of people. And that way, instead of extra cameras and crap like that, you got your cell phone that you're comfortable and familiar with. And yeah, like I say, that the video that these cell phones turn out anymore are on par with pretty much anything else. Until you start getting into the higher end, more professional cameras. That I've got there we go. I've got a Canon Rebel. There we go. Yeah, I've got a Canon Rebel T6i, and it's a nice camera. It's actually kind of great for a lot of things. We did a lot of our early Chica Chicas on that because of it, and we were able to do a lot more with it. But we've also done we've done a few Chica Chicas right on the cell phones. So is there a better or worse? I don't know. I don't know. That I'm editing a video now that I did on a cell phone, a cell phone, a GoPro, and there's an app for that. I found a voice recorder that actually does really good. And that's an app on the cell phone. And so, I'm going to kind of see how that video actually turns out. But yeah, there's a lot of good quality stuff in these cell phones anymore. And that when I got my current cell phone, I actually got the previous generation cell phone because it had a better camera software than the current generation cell phone had. And so, yeah, I got the phone because of the camera. And that's a big thing with a lot of these things right now. And part of the reason why I do use the cell phone for a lot of photography at this point is, one, it's way less obtrusive. People don't think twice when you're using a cell phone. You break out that and they start acting different. Can I do a lot more things on that versus the cell phone? Yeah, without question. Is that way more cumbersome and difficult to carry around and just not practical to leave in your pocket all day to grab a quick shot? Yeah, that's definitely true. One guy that does a photography channel, that he admits that a lot of his candid photography is done on a cell phone. And he makes sure to shoot in he's got an app for it. He's got an iPhone, and he's got a specific app, and then he's got the Adobe camera app. They both shoot in RAW format, so that he has a lot more control over the settings to it as well, especially in the Adobe camera app. And you know, it takes great photos, obviously, that most people didn't realize he was using his cell phone. And that's also part of the problem with it, that if I drop that thing, that's expensive. And that's not terribly well protected. And by the time you could protect it, it's even bigger and more bulky. I've dropped this thing repeatedly. For the longest time back in the States, I would keep them in the OtterBox Defender series. And that I literally had one of those fall out of my pocket on the bike doing 50 mile an hour down the road. Went back, and the screen protector had a scratch in it, but the phone didn't have a problem. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the phone. I wouldn't recommend doing it constantly. Another one thing that I did do constantly is when I was working, and this is part of the reason why I had that Defender series, is that I finished concrete for a living, and I've repeatedly dropped that on concrete pours and stuff like that in the concrete, that they had an opening for the speaker. I make sure that got cleaned off right then and there. I just let it set in the sun until it dried, and then carefully use some water and just rinse it off good, and never had a problem with it. You know, whereas a camera like that, or you know, even just a pocket camera, something like that would probably destroy or at least severely damage. You know, so there's a lot of pluses and minuses to both. I do like taking photos with that periodically. If we go up, you know, if I do manage to go up to Poseida to do some drone practice, there's some gorgeous scenes up there. I'll probably take the camera with me to do some scenery. That there's an area up there that has a bunch. It's actually on the way up. It's in the mountain, and I can't find someplace close enough to get pulled over with sunshine. But on Rusi, that there's several places I could get pulled over and ask permission. That they've got a bunch of the old stainless steel jeepneys up there that I'd love to get some photos of. And just, you know, ask, you know, hey, do you mind if I do a photo layout at some of these? Which actually reminds me, I need to print some cards. I am a massive proponent in the OtterBox Defender series. It's kind of a bulky case, but at the same time, it's hard to get in and out of the case. But by the same token, like I say, I dropped that thing off a motorcycle doing 50 on a asphalt road. It bounced and slid, and it did get a pretty significant. They've got a hard plastic screen protector on it, and that screen protector got a bit of a heavy scratch in it, but it didn't bother the screen, and it didn't hurt the screen, and that's my big thing. Anytime I've sold a phone, I've made sure to note and got a lot better price out of it because it had been in an OtterBox from the day it was new. I would typically know that I'm going down and getting a new phone and actually buy the OtterBox in advance. So that way, I would literally walk out of the store with the thing in an OtterBox. That a few of the clerks thought I was kind of crazy and weird, but yeah, hey, gotta love me. But double checking messages. And again, this is the second one that I've had in this style of case. And I actually like this with the leather piece. And surprisingly, as many times as I've dropped this, it's never been damaged, that it is good enough that it doesn't damage it. So I'm kind of, since I stopped doing construction, be quite so hard on phones, I've kind of liked these. And because of the pockets, I've stopped carrying a wallet. I actually use my Note 8. I haven't tried the A52, but I do not have a memory card in here. I only have the dual SIM, and that's one thing I disliked about the A52, is you could only run either a dual SIM or a SIM in memory. They did not have a dedicated memory slot. And so without having the extra memory, I don't like putting many apps on that phone. That you've seen most of you guys here have seen the insane amount of apps that I've got on these phones, and storage and photos and everything else that I've got 128 gig memory card in there just because of that. And I actually did that with a tablet. And in the end, the tablet did not link correctly to the frickin' drone. I was horribly upset. When I get rich and famous and become a famous YouTuber, DJI makes a dedicated monitor for drones. And the biggest thing on it, it's about 3 times, the screen is about 3 times as bright as the brightest phones. And I've seen one and definitely like it, but I just can't justify the price at this point. Although I've gotten cameras and stuff like that that were way more expensive. Maybe not way more expensive, but because I'm not using the drone often enough, I can't justify something that's dedicated towards the drone only. Something that expensive. But there again, the drones are more expensive than it is, but that's now this is something to think about. I don't know who your cell phone provider is. I don't know if T-Mobile's available in Canada. I don't know if the T-Mobile, if it is available, whether or not it's the same setup as in the US. But with all that qualification said, I've actually got 2 different phones. One of them is got an American number that we kept in place even when we were still thinking, when we were probably going to be living here permanent, because it gave us an American phone number, and the T-Mobile plan allows us texting and data for free, data locally for free, and texting back to the US for free over the cellular network. Cellular network phone calls are a little expensive, but I just don't answer the phone. Then I've got a Google Voice number that can work off the data plan. And then I've got the cell phone that's a Philippine cell phone that was bought here and used here. That's a dual SIM that I've got Globe and Smart on it. Smart seems to work way better with data connections than Globe does. Smart has got a 5G plan that's fairly inexpensive monthly. That's what I generally use for live streams and when the buffering severely decreased. But I like the A50, I like the A52, and it's great for local phones and local calls. But like I say, the running the dual SIM prevents me from putting a memory card in here, so that you're stuck with what the phone's internal memory is. But you might want to consider, especially if T-Mobile, or if you've got a plan similar to T-Mobile over there that allows you I know that feeling. They're too short to see over clothes racks. I keep on threading time, one of those bicycle flags on the back of Cindy's shirts. But you might want to look into, Daniel, you might want to look into, and I don't know if they're available in Canada. I don't know. But you might want to look at a Google Voice that Ned from Philippine Dreams tried to set up a Google Voice over here, but had some issues. And anyways, Google Voice has one distinct advantage over Magic Jack and some of these others, and it they will allow those short code texts. Yeah, I wish I had that again. The text that just have the short code instead of an actual phone number. Are allowed on the Google Voice, whereas Magic Jacks and stuff like that may not be available. And so, okay, well, that entire point's moot. My apologies on that one then. I wasn't sure if it was North America or US only, but I guess from what you're saying, it's US only. So for anybody that's in the US or able to work from the US, get stuff routed over to the US or through the US, that works great with. There's been several times that I was able to get, as you saw, there was one right at the top that I was able to get the short message code from them that way. That a lot of places don't have the ability to send verification codes and stuff like that with a traditional phone number. And so going to things like Magic Jack and stuff that won't necessarily work. I don't even know if Magic Jack has an app or something like that to where you could get a text. But yeah, Ned ran into an issue that was using Google Hangouts for a while or something like that. Well, and I should say Google Voice is free, and I can use it through the internet pretty much anywhere. I've actually been able to use it on my American phone on the data plan. That I don't know what they're called other than short code text or something like that, but there is a specific name for them. You might want to double check and find out whether or not they will accept the short code texts like that. Because that was one issue that Ned from Philippine Dreams was fighting a little bit ago. That he needed to text or to get something get a text like that from the US. and the setup he had wasn't working. And fortunately, I remember him talking about having a couple of years ago, having set up a Google Voice number. And I don't know what happened with that, or if it wound up getting wrapped into this with some of the Google stuff that they've done, and he just never reset up one or whatever. And yeah, he was able to, it took him a while, but he was able to finally get one, because you need to have some verification and stuff like that done, and through a US number. It's kind of complicated to do over here, but a piece of cake to do over there. And so before we left, I set up one for myself, and then just before I left, I set up one for Cindy. I got a friend of mine that he's not very tech savvy, and for whatever reason on Facebook Messenger, I've tried repeatedly talking to him and calling him, and he has a really hard time dealing with it. And so I've just started calling him with a Google Voice number that's effectively the same exact thing, that it doesn't cost me anything. It runs over the internet, and its only limitation is I can't do a video chat with him. If I need to do a video chat with him, I have a mutual friend or something like that, go over there, or have somebody he knows help him out with initiating a Facebook Messenger call, video call. But yeah, between Facebook Messenger and Google Voice, I get with and again, it's a lot of that's kind of like the camera thing. It's what works best for you. And I really like the Google Voice, that it worked great. It gave me an American phone number I could use, a US phone number I could use for credit cards or anytime I needed something. It gave me a way to make a call to somebody if I need to, that doesn't have Facebook. And I've got a couple friends that have chosen to stay off of Facebook, which not a big deal. And then it allows me to accept text, and it doesn't cost me anything. When Ned posted his thing, a couple people had made comment. I think it was when Ned posted it, or when I talked about it, that they were able to port their cell number in before they left. So Google Voice is their same cell number. And that's one of the drawbacks to some of this technology, that there's stuff available in Europe that isn't available outside of Europe, certain countries. There's stuff available in the US that isn't available outside of the US. And then it's kind of one of those, one of that situations where it's the double-edged sword, that it works great for some, but not others. And in your particular case, yeah, Magic Jack may be the perfect, setup for you, whether or not it does the short message text. The Google Hangouts that had the ability to call into it was very cool, because that you did not, I don't believe you had to be a U.S. citizen, be from the U.S. to get. And I've never tried, and I've never had a reason to try, to call a non-US number with Google Voice to find out what happens. And I'm actually kind of curious now what would happen if I tried to call like a Canadian number with Google Voice. So Dan, I may actually message you here in the near future, just to try an offbeat experiment to see what happens. I'm always one for, I don't know, let me go let me go find out. But I see that we're hitting that hour mark. I truly appreciate you guys coming out today. And the interaction that this channel is providing is way cool. Uh, and as I said earlier in the video, think about it. Ask your wives if they would be interested in doing wives only Zoom meeting here in the next few weeks. I'd really like to see if we can extend the community from just the husbands to include the wives to a lot of this. I know some of them are kind of private and really don't like doing that. But no worry. There's always next month, and I don't know, quite a few people didn't get notified. I'm thinking about doing one maybe in a week, maybe next week. And I kind of thought that may be the case. I kind of found generally when they want to have a meetup, they just do it on Facebook and they ignore the guys anyhow. Oh, I broke my fidget. I broke my fidget finally. But hey, shy except when it comes to selfies on Facebook, right? That yeah, I've heard that a lot too. So, but from Cebu City, I appreciate all the help and support you guys give us. I know I need to go buy one somewhere. But for today, mabuhay.